record with this computer. We are on, sir. Ernie, long time no see.
What's up, Rich? This is becoming a weekly ritual, I guess, right?
Absolutely. First off, let me see the shirt.
Oh, it says stronger than before.
So what did you do, burpees today? What did the elliptical? What happened today that makes that possible?
Was drinking my Coke Zero, so yeah, I have some burpees, but anyways, who cares? Let's get started, man. We got
a big show, so let's get started. First off, before we start, I wanted to give a shout out to Freddy Zamora, 50.
Yeah, Freddy, man,
in the draft. Yes, sir.
Awesome. That's awesome. The kid deserves it. He's a great player, great, even better person. And I think we could take some of the credit because we brought him on. We'll give him all the credit. He did.
Yeah, we'll give him the credit. We'll give him the credit. But you know what? I actually sent a text message to some of my players that are in college, and I said, "You see, come on, Yard Talk. You move up in the."
That's right. You never know what could happen. Absolutely, man. Hey, but today's shows I'm excited about, man, because it's definitely something that we've talked about. That we've talked about, and something close to my heart, and it's inner city baseball, and how what could be done to develop a situation there where we could improve it, what could be done to enhance it, man, and just I have a heart for that, and I believe that this group that we have coming in here could help us and have some questions and answer some questions and definitely see where this could take us,
Oh, I agree. Me too. It's been something, that I've thought about for years and years, and I've had lots of conversations with people about it. And I think with this platform, we finally have the ability to not just talk about it and put words out there, but I'm looking forward to see what comes out of this conversation.
Definitely, man. Definitely. So let's bring these guys on, man. We got a good panel on there. We have Andre Payne, as assistant coach from Florida Memorial. We also have Tony Jenkins, who's a starting outfielder for University of Miami. We also have Calvin Johnson, who's the head coach at North Miami High School here in North Miami. We also have Charles Rackley, who is the commissioner at Perrine Richmond
Optimist.
Okay, and lastly we have Maisonet, who's a coach and teacher at Gulliver Prep. So we got a good panel, and let's bring them on, Rich. Let's get going.
Yes, sir. Here we go. I'm good at this now. Watch. One press, and everybody's in.
Hey, gentlemen, how are we doing tonight?
Everybody's good. How about yourself, man?
It was good, man. We kind of introduced you guys a little bit. We got some questions, and like we told you guys before briefly, man, we want to talk about inner city baseball and how we could have an open forum and see what could be done, how could we improve it, and I know each and everybody on here has their own ideas, and I want to start with Tony Jenkins from University of Miami. Tony, how you doing tonight, buddy?
Let me unmute him really quick. I got you, Tony. Don't worry. You're good.
How you doing tonight, Tony? And I guess we won't start with Tony.
Tony, click that thing down on the bottom right of your computer again that I told you, and you'll be good. Your computer's actually muted.
Okay. Well, we'll get back to Tony, man. Let's start off with Mr. Rackley. Charles, tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got involved with the Perrine Richmond Optimist, and what you got going on right now with that program.
Well, let's say myself, first off, I'm from West Perrine, Florida. That's where I was born and raised. Coming up in my era, which I was a kid that was born in the early 70s, baseball was king. That's what I knew as a kid growing up, because this hadn't become a football mecca or a football world prior to that. And I feel like as a kid, growing up, I grew up around baseball, but I also played football and basketball and so on and so forth. But like I said, I've been around Richmond Perrine Optimist, pretty much all my life. Like I said, as a kid, that was the Optimist club that we knew, that was in the community, that was there for the kids, that allowed us that outlet to be able to go and have something to do outside of school, to keep us off the streets, keep us out of trouble. And, like I said, since the early age as a kid, I've been a part of the organization. fast forward to current days. I mean, as an adult, I had a buddy of mine that had a nephew that was actually playing for them over in baseball. And he was like, hey, man, you want to put your kids in baseball? I was like, it's funny because Hawaiian don't have any baseball. I was like, yeah, let's see what's going on. So I took my kids at the time. My oldest son was about 5. I think my youngest son was 3. And they had, I believe it was 6 and 7, like coach pitched, whatever it was at that time. And, let them play it, let them look at it, let them experience it. And they were like, we don't really like this that much. And I'm thinking to myself, man, y'all ain't giving it a chance. So, fast forward to the next year. Hey, man, baseball's about to start. Y'all want to play? Yeah, let's go do it again. I'm like, wow, y'all just told me a year ago y'all didn't want to do it. But long story short, they got into it and they started to like it. And I was like, okay, great. That's a good thing. So a couple years into it, I went from just being a parent. Then I started coaching it. At the time, my job didn't permit me to have the scheduling that I needed to want to be committed full time as a coach. But as, life and, things progress and change, I was able to land a job where I had the time, where I was able to put back into it and things like that. So I started coaching full time with them. And then eventually the guy that was the commissioner was like, hey, man, I think I'm about to step down. I see you got a handle on this. You know what's going on, da-da-da-da. I want to put you in charge. So, for the last 10 years, I've pretty much been the commissioner of Richmond Perrine Baseball Optimist Club. And, like I said, it's something that I myself as a kid played growing up. And I just wanted to, I sit back and, I listen to and watch. And, for the most of the years of my life, I've been coaching football on the high school level, Optimist level, things of that nature. And, you sit back and listen to the parents and everybody wants to go get to the bag and everybody wants this and this and that. And I'm thinking to myself, do you people have any idea if you put your kid in baseball, your kid will get a bag that you've never seen before? Football will not allow you to live the life that baseball can afford you to live if you guys gave it a chance. And that was my thing for a lot of years and trying to get kids involved. And, some people you would get involved and some people, they come look at it, kid, no, I don't want to do this. And, so it's been an uphill battle for the most part. But what I do realize, this just past season, I decided that instead of having a 7, 8, 9, 10, 11U, 12U, all these older kids, I decided I was going to go back and get T-ball, which is 3 and 4 years old. So I told myself, you know what, if we can attack these kids before they start playing this football mecca or this football giant, then maybe you got an opportunity to get them to experience this game before football, before they get caught up in the parents and the hoop-ha and my kid and my son and my baby and so on and so forth, because obviously baseball is something that looks different to them.
Mm-hmm.
I was telling Rich the other day that I was like, man, do you realize that I'm probably and I would like to think in the African-American community, at least in my community, one of the last of those kids that came up when you were able to play baseball, when baseball was what you did. You played football also, but you were happy to see baseball season come along because it wasn't all about football, So as you grew up and you saw how things were changing, and myself, I just kept playing it, even through I got to high school, and I went to Miami Palmetto High School. And, that was, we hear that's a pretty predominantly white, Caucasian high school. And, I love that high school, with all my heart. That's my school. And I tell people to today, that's the best education you can ever get in this world. That's from Miami Palmetto High School. And I was able to, play baseball because I had, the gift and I had played from a kid. So I was one of those kids that, I understood the game. I played it for a long time and I had, a lot of experience in it. So when it was time to try out for a team, I made the team without a problem. At that time I played for Coach Bobby Delgado, who right now is coaching with old Rich over at Keys Gate. And like I said, that was my high school coach, and that was the guy that gave me the opportunity to play in high school. And I played all my 3 years of high school, 10th grade JV, varsity 11th and 12th grade. And, and I taught my sons the same thing. Fast forward 30 years, my sons right now both went to Palmetto High School and they both played on the baseball team. Not only that, and it's so weird and eerie because In 1991, when I was a senior, I was the only African American on the team. Literally, there was just me. Everybody else were not, of my complexion. But I'd have a problem with that because I was cool with everybody. Everybody on the team were like my brothers, you know what I mean? So it wasn't a big deal to me. And looking at it today, my son plays at Palmetto right now, and he is the only African-American on the team right now on the varsity, playing center field. And it's like, damn, 30 years later, we're still in the same predicament we were from 50 years ago. And then, like you said, how do we change that?
Yeah. And I think it's because, like I think you said it, football has become king in South Florida down here. And you have all these guys committing out of 8th grade. It's happening in baseball, but not as prevalent as in football because it's so all these SEC schools and ACC schools coming in and swiping these guys. And I had a conversation with Coach Payne, and I think he kind of reiterates what you were saying. So Payne, if you want to jump in here, man, how can we solve this? How can we improve the situation with inner city baseball and get more guys on these high school teams and then later get more college scholarships and kind of make baseball better?
One thing that in our conversation I mentioned to you, Ernie, and this is something that I felt for a while, I tried to put myself in a situation to help as many inner city kids that I can. I've even had a travel team that I did maybe about 10, 12 years ago that I funded myself. We were going to some tournaments and things like that. But what I noticed is, like Charles said, when he was in high school, he played with the only guy on the team was him. We have to get our kids that are playing T-ball a strong foundation. When they're playing coach pitch, when they start playing, we have to get them a strong foundation. A lot of the kids on these parks are very good athletes, but they don't have the fundamentals. And it's hard to be a good athlete as you get older. You have to have those fundamentals. You can be a phenomenal athlete, but if you don't have fundamentals, if you don't understand what you got to do in that box, these different pitches or what you need to do on the field, is going to catch up to you. And I think that happens as they progress in these levels, coming from some of these parks. So we don't have, Ernie Padron. I hear stories about Ernie all the time because he coached my head coach.
I'm sorry.
So, gentlemen like that, we don't have a lot of those in the inner city. We have a lot of guys that are willing to give their time. We just don't have across the board, we don't have a lot of knowledgeable coaches that can really teach them certain things, how to position your hands and your feet when you turn the double play, the little nuances of the game. And it's different. I had a conversation with Ricky Weeks Sr. on yesterday, and he was telling me that one of his kids, a young man from Vanderbilt, signed as a free agent. And he thought he, would have had a better chance, but he didn't get drafted. Only 5 rounds, of course. And I said, Ricky, what you don't understand is what you have with your 2 sons that are hands-on in your program is a model. Because you take that kid and he grew up in your system, but what's valuable to him is how many conversations did he have with Ricky Weeks Jr., who won the Golden Spikes at Southern, or Jamal Weeks, a first-round pick out of UM. They just talk baseball. Just sitting on the bucket talking baseball with an 8 or 9-year-old kid about things that they've been through, different things that they saw as they were growing up through different levels. That helps that kid turn from being an athlete to a baseball player. And now he's a guy that can go play pro ball. So I think we have to get our guys that have college experience or just have coached for a while and are passionate and have that knowledge of the game. Those guys, we got to find a way to have them come back into these inner cities and coach these kids. And I think if we could do that and give them a strong foundation, by the time they get to Cal at North Miami or some of these other coaches at these other high schools, then they're serviceable. You don't have to teach. When I coached at Central, when I coached at Norland, there was a lot of years I didn't have 9 kids that could play baseball. So I had to grab me a kid for here and there and hope I could make him serviceable enough or hide him enough during the game where I could squeak out a victory. That's just what it was.
Right.
And I got Tony. Tony, you've been obviously playing baseball for a long time, right? We still don't have Tony here.
Tony's probably gonna jump on the cell phone. Payne, I think you bring up a I think you bring up a great point. I went through that when we first started the program at Keysgate, which was like in 11. We had, maybe six eighth graders and seventh graders that were baseball players, and we had to fill the rest of the team with football players. And they were athletes.
Exactly.
No matter if they were black, white, Hispanic, they were athletes, but all we could do was try to make them serviceable at that age, because we couldn't spend 6 months teaching fundamentals. And I think you and Rack, you hit the same point. And Rav, I'd like to hear your opinion on this, because you did use baseball. What's your opinion on that, as far as how can we start this younger? How can we start this younger? How can we get this younger? Because Rack is out on an island. I've been to his park. I've been to see the Richmond Giants. I've been hung out there on a Saturday, and it's fantastic. And everything is good, but it's Rack and his assistant, and there's no one else out there. There's no one else providing any support coaching-wise, and there's no one else providing really support as sponsorship-wise. And there's lots of people in this city, and I think that's where we need to get. And Rav, you ended up coaching football, but you played both, and at Palmetto.
Yeah. First of all, thank you guys for having me on the show. Can everybody hear me well? Because I got my headsets on. Sometimes they're not that good.
You're good.
Yeah, we got your red.
I'm gonna tell you a quick story. The way I got into baseball, I was 200 pounds in the 5th grade, and back then, you couldn't play football at that weight. Nowadays, you can. But the only other sports you could play are things that didn't have a weight class. And the school that I went to, I went to elementary school with Richard Benavidez over here, and a lot of those kids played at the Perrine Corey League. And, what Coach Payne was saying, what hurt me as a young kid is I didn't have a father who was knowledgeable of baseball, or an adult male figure for any matter, at a young age to even talk to me about baseball. Everything that I knew about baseball was on TV. I mean, I fell in love with baseball watching the Oakland A's in the late 80s. That's what got me into the game, because they were always good. And it's like, and we didn't have baseball in Miami. So because of that, and because of my friends in elementary school playing at the Corey League, that convinced me to ask my mom, hey, Mom, can you sign me up at the Corey League? And, it was sad, because when I first started playing, I wasn't that good, but I ended up getting good. But by the time I got good, it was kind of too late. Some of the kids who I played with, those guys that were playing since, T-ball. And the few black kids that were at our park, they were all studs.
Yes, sir.
Shannon Stewart, he was a draft pick. He played for the Twins and for the
Les
Blue Jays.
Barry Paulk.
And Barry Paulk used to hit infield triples. Okay, like he was ridiculous, right? So imagine that you're talking about athletes, like Rich was talking about athletes. The amount of athletes that you have in South Florida to do something like that, where you're able to get drafted, but how much is baseball being even infiltrated into their minds? I mean, the fact of the matter is, Mr. Rackley said when he was growing up, this was a baseball town. But since the Dolphins started winning in the 70s and going into the 80s, all anybody ever cares about now is football. And so, every family is trying to get their kid to be the next draft pick in Miami, regardless of how talented they are, right? Because everybody's son is a first-round draft pick. Everybody's son is a Division I football player, right? What about in baseball? Oh, no, I ain't messing with that. Are you kidding me? If you could be the Barry Paulk of a team, you could be, a Division I baseball player, because not a whole lot of teams have that, right? But they don't see that. And then what can that turn into? So that's what I see. I think we need to find a way to have more younger travel teams, like Mr. Payne was talking about, funding in the inner city where we can get, the cost, it's tough with the cost. Sometimes in Optimist football leagues, the cost gets fronted. In baseball, a lot of the commissioners, they're like, no, we can't front that cost like that. You got a lot of stuff you got to pay for. So I get it. So, if there's a way to get the funding to support all of that, maybe you can convince some of these families to say, hey, in your off season for football, why don't you try this? You could be the next Bo Jackson, right? Like, who's that? You could be a Deion Sanders. You know how many conversations I've had with baseball coaches who are like, oh, there's no more Deion Sanders, there's no more Bo Jackson. I'm like, why? Because you only got to see those two?
Brian Jordan too. Don't forget Brian Jordan.
Exactly.
Also,
Great call,
Brian Jordan was
Dave Winfield.
Carl Crawford.
Dave Winfield.
Yeah.
Carl
Dave
Crawford.
Winfield. Vernon Morency. Let's stay local. Vernon Morency.
You know what I would. Yeah, you know what I would love, and I don't want to get political, but I would love politicians and funding some of these programs and helping, because at the end of the day, if we don't reach our youth now, when are we going to reach them? You know what I'm saying? And I think it's essential, man. We need to prepare them, because at the end of the day, you got Florida Memorial University right in our backyard. And we could send them there, or shoot, we could send them to University of Miami. We could send them wherever. But we got to give them that base, that foundation that is essential.
Ernie,
yeah.
Right before we go, you hit a perfect segue. You said Florida Memorial. We got somebody sitting in the waiting room that before we go to Tony and Cal, I wanted to let him join the conversation.
Who's that? Tino?
Yeah, Mr. Burgos. We're gonna Florentino, as they know him on the website. Florentino.
But before I okay, put him in there. But before that, I want to say this, because back when Northwestern had a gentleman by the name of Rose was his last name, he went on to become an AP at Miami Northwestern, and he came from Palmer Trinity. He called me and said, "Hey, can I take our team with our coach and watch you guys practice?" And I go, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Yeah, we need to see a baseball practice, how it's formed." And he goes, "Absolutely." And he brought his team over, and there was like 50 of them. They sat through our whole practice. And I was wondering, why can't we practice with Calvin's team? Hey, Calvin, let's on Wednesday, we'll go to you, or you come to us, and we have a mutual practice. And I'm not saying that my teams are better than these. I'm not saying it because of that. I'm saying it because iron sharpens iron. And if they see a kid doing, oh my gosh, that's the way you turn a double play, man, these kids learn from seeing, from hearing. Why not? Why can't we do that and kind of help out the game? What do you think about that, Calvin?
You know what, Ernie, that's a great point that you bring up. First of all, I'd like to say thank you guys for having me on today. My name is Calvin Johnson. I'm in my fourth year of coaching baseball. Now I'm over at North Miami Senior High. I started at Miami Central Senior High. I was there for 3 seasons, built a pretty solid foundation and program there. And I played baseball over at Miami Central with a guy by the name of Ronnie Belliard, who went on to get drafted. But yeah, like you were saying, Ernie, I tell my kids that all the time. I'm like, hey, listen, I make reference to Florida Memorial all the time because I know Coach Payne. I was like, yeah, man, if we just go out, I just want you guys to go out and watch and see these other teams practice and see the intensity level and to see how upbeat, and how things are done on a higher level, then maybe you guys will start, you'll see that and you'll want to, kind of like emulate what you see, because that's what most of us did, growing up. So just from that point, it was funny that you said that, Ernie, because I say that all the time to my kids.
I wish they would give us opportunities to do that, because I'll be open to it. I mean, I'll be open to it with anybody, going here, going there. I mean, it's just a bus, it's not that much of an expense, but I think it's essential for both parties, because our kids benefit, both sides benefit. And at the end of the day, we gotta grow this game, bottom line. And if these kids could go on and get a college education because they're playing baseball, man, so be it, man. That's what I'm all about. And it's Tony, your mic working?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, finally. Tony Jenkins,
Miami.
Starting center fielder for the University of Miami Hurricanes. Tony, thank you for joining us, man. I had the pleasure to hang out with you one summer, coaching you, and the moment I saw you, I said, holy cow, can this kid play? And it turns out I didn't even know it. He had committed to Miami, but definitely got a good one. Tony, man, just tell us a little bit of how you got started. I know you played multiple sports in high school, correct?
Yeah. Well, yeah, he introduced me. Thanks for the introduction, Coach. Yeah, my name's Tony Jenkins, and I'm from a small town, Melbourne, Florida, about 3 hours north of Miami. Just growing up, like I said, it was a small town. Played Little League. Not many, brothers on my team. And then once I got to, high school, the high school I went to was divided like middle school and high school. So it was 7 through 12. So I was there from 7th grade until I graduated. And I actually played varsity baseball starting in 7th grade all the way through. And all my years there, I think we had, I would say about three brothers all my years there. And once I got to Miami, it was pretty much the same thing. I was the only guy on the team. And I don't know, I just realized, I feel like someone mentioned before, it starts, with the foundation. Definitely, like when you're younger, I feel like it has an impact on everything, because this is a hard game. It's definitely hard to pick up. I think you mentioned before about fundamentals and, just understanding the game. And someone also mentioned about like the big league guys coming back, giving back to the community and doing the right things for the community. Like at we actually have a lot of guys come back, John Jay, Yonder Alonzo, Jamal Weeks, Manny Machado. And, just, I'm already at the college level, and just, to see those guys come back, work out with us and, do all those types of things, it's definitely, eye-opening, I guess. And, makes you want to work harder, makes you, want to do these things. And, yeah, I mean, yeah.
And Tony, you played with and the name is slipping, but he's at Florida Memorial right now, right?
Yeah, Jock Perry. Yes.
Yeah, with Jock Perry. He can swing it a little bit, Coach.
Yeah, he can swing it a little bit. I don't think he's not as fast as Tony, but he always want to steal. He tell me he used to beat you in the 60, but I always tell him he joking.
Yeah,
but he's pretty decent.
Jock can swing it, but I don't think there's many people faster than Tony Jenkins, to be honest with you. So, but Tony, man, thanks for that. And you had a lot of people that were helping you out through all this, correct? A lot of people that kind of were essential through your development, right?
Right. Yeah, and I mean, growing up, my father wasn't always in my life, and I was blessed and fortunate enough to, have other people in my family, step up and, just help me, learn the game, just pick up on things. And I don't know, it was just a huge help. I feel like that's probably another problem too. A lot of fathers are not in these kids' lives, and, that can have a huge impact too. And I have a son also, so, it's important for me to, continue to be in his life and, guide him the right way. And it's my goal. He has to go 1-1. So.
How old's your boy?
2 now.
2? What, is it Tony Jenkins Jr.?
Yeah. Nah.
Oh man.
Maisonet.
Oh, okay.
Yes, sir.
That's awesome, man. Hey, listen, I know the love you have for the game, and I know you're gonna pass it down, and you're gonna be a great father, man. So there's no doubt about that, man. So thank you. We got Tino Burgos. You on?
Gotta let
Yes, I'm on.
Hey,
Rick,
this is Tino Burgos, the head coach at Florida Memorial University. You know how sometimes you have children and you call them, when you have a kid and you say, this is my pride and joy, Tino play for me, and he's definitely not my pride and joy. He was one of the most Listen, I'm very proud of you and what you've accomplished in this game, and what more importantly, the man you've become and the leader you've become. You know that the relationship we had goes beyond baseball. And I appreciate your friendship, man. So what can you tell us a little bit of how we can help this situation, specifically what you deal with in college, and how can we, fix it or help it?
Well, I know I came in the chat a little late, but I'm assuming we're talking about, and just give me a little more clarity, Ernie, as far as
we're just looking, man,
inner city baseball.
Yes, sir.
How can we improve inner city baseball? How can we affect it? How can we get them going to Florida Memorial? How can we achieve more in the inner cities through baseball, or make baseball better? I guess is the term I'm looking for.
I think it's a challenge, obviously, and that's why you guys are talking about it. That's why it's a topic. But I mean, you got guys like Coach Payne. He's on my staff. I'm Cal. I've been fortunate to meet Cal, and and guys like, those guys that have come from those same areas, that have come, myself coming up, in the Northwest area, going back and I think Tony, I believe Tony said it.
Tony Jenkins, yeah.
As far as those guys coming back, I heard Jamal, Yonder, all the guys at that go back, and it's the same thing at FIU and in certain areas, Nova, Southeastern. A lot of those guys as alumni go back and they promote what a good experience they had. And so those guys need to be going to the park, Pepper Park, where I played at. They need to go back and hit at, certain parks where young men can see them, 5 years old, 6 years old, 7 years old, 8 years old, and become impressioned by it and love the game and enjoy the game, because at 6, I fell in love with it. So there was nothing else that was really going to pull me away from baseball. And so whether it's, football, basketball, I mean, it was all around me, but baseball was it for me. And I'm a first generation baseball guy. My dad didn't play. My grandfather didn't play. And so I think, and I'm actually going to be meeting with Jamal later tonight in a Zoom call, but, it's great hitting at It's great hitting at FIU, but go back, hit. If you're from, you played at Northwestern, you made it, you were a 3rd rounder, 5th rounder, 30th rounder, free agent, but you made it. You got something to give back. Go hit at Northwestern. Go hit at Northern. Go hit at, NMB. Go hit at those places. Go do those things. And we don't have enough of that, I think. So it becomes hard sometimes as a young man to relate, and it's hard. And then you look to your left, because I think football does a great job of it. If you look at inner city football, Miami Gardens and any area, those guys they come back. They're there, they're involved, they're in 7-on-7 drills with those guys. They're doing certain things. They're at the Optimist Park. They're everywhere. Me and Coach Payne, Andre, we talk about it all the time. We see guys, big NFL superstars, Pro Bowlers. They're at 6 and 7, 8, 9-year-old Pee Wee football. You don't see that with baseball a whole lot.
Yeah, you don't. And back in 1990, 91, I think it was. I'm gonna throw these 3 names at you, and I'm gonna tell you the school, and then you're gonna say, "Oh my gosh, they had good baseball." Right. Eddie Williams, Jackie Ross, Mildred Cummings. Those 3 guys were the same team at Edison, and all three of them got to the big leagues, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
Correct?
Yep. My brother was on that team as a freshman and sophomore.
Yeah. So it could be done,
Absolutely.
and it could be done. And I think us as coaches, and I put us in there myself, because I think we need to do a better job of being out there. And hey, let's run a camp at Florida Memorial. Let's bring everybody in. Let's do it. Let's teach these kids fundamentals from all the way from wherever you guys want to start to high school, because I think it's an avenue for us to give these kids an opportunity for college baseball, and that's what I'm about, because at the end of the day, nobody. But that education is always going to stay with us.
Ernie's dog muted him.
Can you hear me? No.
Yeah, you missed the last 2 sentences.
That I said that baseball comes to an end, but our education and that degree we get never ends, and I think that's what we got to create.
Ernie, Rav, let me jump in really quick, and then we'll go to you. I think that us placing a brunt of the responsibility on guys that get guys that get drafted, I think that we're missing a big opportunity to have guys give back who are in high school. I ran a camp in December or January here at Harrisfield for the local Little League, and I just took my high school guys and my coaches. Nobody special, nobody famous. One of them might play for a long time, and most of them won't. But when those kids got there and the kids had on their high school hats and their jerseys and all that, man, the kids looked at them like they were weight bogs, like if they were big leaguers. And I think it's a good opportunity for us to use the manpower that we have, which is high school baseball players, and go out to the younger parks, like to help out what Rack is doing at the Optimist level with coach pitch. And they know the fundamentals. And I think it does a great service to these young men who are in high school baseball as athletes, just to have a little bit of cognizance of what they can do. Because sometimes you don't know how powerful you are and what you can do until you're put in that scenario. All my kids, man, that came back from that camp, we had 30, 40, 50 kids there. All the kids came back like, Coach, I didn't know how much fun helping young kids out and teach them baseball could be. You know what? One of the guys hit 040 for the season, and it didn't matter. He was out there. He knew fundamentals. He knew how to help these kids, and he knew how to teach them. And we have a great resource. If you look at all the high school coaches in the state of Florida and nationwide, how many players do we have? Instead of taking these guys to the movies for a team bonding or a barbecue for a team bonding, you know what? Let's go to Richmond and Perrine Optimist. Let's go to NMP. Let's go here and let's run a camp there, so you guys understand how you can help grow this game.
Absolutely.
You don't have to be a big leaguer. You don't
absolutely
have to be a D1 athlete. You know, you can help right now at 16, 17 years old.
I think we're missing a huge aspect that a lot of us were lucky to have when we were younger, right? So in the 80s, you look at the black baseball players that played, some of them are the greatest players that ever play the game. You're talking about Ricky Henderson is the all-time leading stolen base. Tony Gwynn is one of the top hitters of all time. Barry Bonds and Ken Griffey Jr. are some of the best home run hitters of all time.
Andre Dawson.
And I'm going to get to him in a second. So all of those guys were so marketable. We don't have that guy now, whereas in football and basketball we do. Andre Dawson, when in 1991 came to Perrine Corey League, and it was like Michael Jackson showing up. Everybody was getting this guy's autograph. I got his autograph on a baseball that I turned around and started playing in the street like an idiot. Like, big mistake, right? The guy's now a Hall of Famer. But that you bring up Andre Dawson, that's my point. You know, he's an MVP. We had so many guys to look up to in the 80s and the 90s and the early 2000s. I believe our kids don't have that guy right now. And there are some good black baseball players in the league, but not to the likes that we had back then, where it did influence a guy like me and some of my classmates to want to play baseball because we wanted to be like Ken Griffey Jr. We wanted to be like Tony Gwynn, right? I mean, I think if there's a way where a guy like Tony Jenkins can get a big league shot, you know, and he does what he can do. Those are the ways where the kids who are now, you know, in middle school can start. They're watching baseball and they see a guy like a Tony Jenkins who they've seen in college, because a lot of those guys we've seen in college too, right? Like we used to big time following college baseball. I mean, college baseball in Miami is huge. And we see that influences us to say, oh, I want to be like him. But right now, the guys who are influencing us, we want to be like, you know, Dwayne Wade. We want to be like Cam Newton. We want to be Odell Beckham Jr. You know, and it ain't sad to say. I mean, that's a way where we can make it out of you know, our situation as well, you know, but if that's all that we see, that's what we're going to try and do.
That's a great point. And then to touch on that, when I got to coach in 2009 with USA Baseball, we were in California. We were training at Cal State Fullerton before we went out. And we went to the Urban Youth Academy there in Compton. All right. And what a great experience. The fields were great. And we got a crowd of the kids from the neighborhood, and it was awesome, and asking questions, getting autographs. And to that I say, they have one in New Orleans, and Payne's one that told me this, and New Orleans doesn't have a big league club. We're in a metropolitan area like Miami, and we don't have that here. We don't have an urban youth development training center here in Miami. That's something that you put that at Harris Field. You put that somewhere, that's going to be huge, and it's going to help what we're talking about. Yes or no?
Put it at Dade North.
No.
Dayton North, exactly. Dayton North not being used.
Put a Dayton North.
You know what I'm
You
saying?
could put
Payne.
another one at the Homestead Complex. There's 3 fields that go unused back there, man.
So what I'm saying is, if that hits us, because it's done great. Look how many kids in California, black kids in California play baseball more than they do here in South Florida. You know,
Absolutely.
And I think that had a huge reason to do. You know, that was a huge reason that happened. And I wish that, obviously everything's money. We get that, but it comes back to the politicians. Why can't you put your money back to your youth in something like that's going to produce? You know, again, I'm preaching to the choir today, but definitely I think it's a great. I think it'll be a great idea.
No, Ernie, you said a good point, man. And like I said, just to jump in, hang on a second, guys. Hello, can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, just going back to like what Coach said earlier in the broadcast, where we have guys that are willing to give time, but then these are the guys that don't know the fundamentals or don't have the know-how. I use this saying all the time. You have guys that have the time but don't have the know-how, and then you have the guys that have the know-how but don't have the time. And then you get caught in that fashion, and you get caught in that, in that realm. And that, like for me at Richmond, that became like one of the biggest things. And we touched on Andre Dawson, and due to I'm gonna to his credit, Andre Dawson runs an actual funeral home in the neighborhood where we put on baseball. And over the years, he has contributed a good amount of money, as far as funding, as helping us out, with getting some uniforms and trophies and things like that. So he has done that part. Now, the part that he has not, and what we were speaking on, is one of those things like we say we wish we can get him to come back and actually go out there on the field with the kids and just kind of have a day out there and just, let the kids know, even though these kids are little kids, they have no idea who he is, but your parents know who he is. You know what I mean? And your grandparents know who he is,
right?
And things like that. So it's one of those, situations, like you said, for me, down at the Optimist level. And like I said, I was telling Rich, theoretically, we're probably the only black park that has baseball going on anywhere in the South down here, anywhere. And we play in a competitive league, which we play it's a recreational league, which is run through Kendall Hammocks Park, which we're allowed in our alliance, which we have South Kendall, which is Eureka Park. We have, now we have Franjo, which is PBSA Palmetto Franjo, which is, like you said, Perrine Core League. We have Sunnyland, what Sunnyland, Howard Palmetto, they're in our league. This is a competitive league that I myself, with my little black kids, we're playing in this league. And like I said, for the years when we started out, we were really getting dominated for most of our years. Because one, like I said, when we started out, we were getting kids that were already 9, 10, 8, 9, 10, that had not had the foundation, didn't understand or did not get the fundamentals of the game down until they got older. And then, like you said, sometimes, as Coach Rev said, when he got better, it was a little too late. And I started to, realize, even with my kids coming through, I was blessed that I had the knowledge of the game and I was around the game. So I was able to get them started early in life. That's why they were able to make it in high school. And I see the transition. It took me a lot of years as they grew older and gotten to their point where they are. And then I started to realize I was losing more and more kids. Two things started happening. As the kids were getting older, freshman baseball came into play. Freshman baseball came into play, not just necessarily me at my African-American park, but the league itself started to suffer because people couldn't fill the 14U team anymore. Why? Because all 14-year-old kids are playing freshman ball now. Right. Instead of playing on the parks, unless they're playing on an elite travel team, that's one thing they're not going to give up. But their rec team, hey, I'm playing on the JV team or on the freshman team, they're done with. Like this just past year, we couldn't even fill, that league could not fill 12U teams. The league, not me, my park. The league couldn't fill 12U teams because kids are playing freshman ball. So as you started, you look at the whole transformation and everything, and I started to think to myself, and that's what I was telling Rich, I got to go back and get it, like we were talking about, gentlemen, early. I got to get him at 3. I got to get him at 4. I got him at T-ball. I got to get him where I can teach the foundation. We can get a foundation early. And once again, like we said, well, before football became king, you know, we got to let them play baseball, because baseball, to most people, is probably the second most boring sport to golf, to watch. If you're not, think about it, if you're not a person that's into the game. You're into the game, we see the game. The game is a game within the game. We see all the everything. We see the pitch count. We see the pitches they're about to throw. We see what the the hit and run, or the sacrifices. We see all that. But the average person has no idea what's going on in the game. They just think people are throwing the ball, hitting the ball, catching the ball. In retrospect, that's really what they're doing. But there's more to it. And if you can get those kids at the early age, and I'm just thinking that, at 3 and 4, where you can literally get them bare, where they know nothing, and you can put it into them. And like Coach said, once they start to grow a love for the game, where Coach said he started to love the game at 6. If I can start you at 3 or 4, by the time you're 6, that's when that love will kick in. And if I could get the help, which is my main issue, is not being able to have the support as far as coaching. Once again, going back to what I said earlier, the people that have the know-how don't have time. The people that have time don't know anything. So it's almost like going out there for me every day. It's like I'm coaching the coaches and the kids all at the same time.
Right.
And for doing that for 10, 12 years, man, and listen, it gets drooling, it gets on you.
Right.
But I don't give up.
Well,
my kids don't participate in it anymore, and I'm still there. My kids are one's in college, one's in high school, and I'm still there doing it.
Well, before Rich jumps in, you tell me what day you having a camp, and I will take myself and my team and my coaches to work that camp, that whatever you need to help you guys out. I will give you my word, because that's how passionate I am about this topic.
I mean, I appreciate that, man. And I like I said, I don't have anything lined up right now. Due to the pandemic, there's just so many things. But
line it up.
We got to
line it up. Line it up. You got me on tape. I can't lie. I can't work my way out of it. I can't wiggle out of it. So I'm committed to help you guys out. And anywhere. And that's the heart that we have. We love this game. Right. We love this game. We don't do it for the money. You know that. We love the game. We love to teach.
Tony might do it for the money in a bit. Tony might do it for the money in a bit.
Tony's story is a little bit different. He's talented, not like us.
Hey, but Ernie, I wanted to touch on a point that this is something I thought about as well, and this is something that a one-day camp is great. Is great on both ends, for the people running the camp and for the people learning the camp. But I don't think that giving 1 or 2 days of fundamentals to kids is going to be enough. I think the camp, we also need to hold camps for the adults, where we
coach the coaches,
the dad, whoever the older brothers, moms, grandma, it doesn't matter.
Coaching clinic.
So they can, so we can empower them with the necessary knowledge that when we're not there for Tuesday and Thursday practice, or Monday, Wednesday, Friday, they are there and they do have the resources.
Absolutely.
I think that is something that we have to do. When I was at Perrine Corey League, we had the largest membership that they've ever had there in years. And I'm talking about when I was on the board and my kids were playing. And what we did before each season is we ran coaching clinics. And we talked to them about pitch counts and fundamentals and all these things, man. And some guys that know everything about baseball scoffed at it. But there was a lot of guys, a lot of dads that were like, hey, man, this was great. I really didn't play baseball growing up, but now I think I can run a practice. I think I can do it. And this is even at the high school level. A buddy of mine is the coach at Carroll City. He's the baseball coach, and he is not a baseball guy. He's a basketball guy, and he coaches basketball and he coaches baseball. And he sends me a text. He says, Rich, the umpire came up to me and said that something about IO. What do I do? Like, he says, what is IO? So I sent him a spreadsheet of how to hit IO and how to do this. And he goes, oh man, that's great. I'm going to take you out golfing. Thank you, blah, blah, blah. But this is something that if we're giving this to the people that are involved in your league, and Rack, sometimes the dads are there, the parents are there, but if they throw their hands up and don't know, can't help you other than offer support, if they can't help you, man, they're just going to stand back. So I think that is part of the issue that we got to tackle. We got to get competent guys out there and women to embrace it and not feel, that they're afraid of going out there because they really don't know. And I think if we get that'll have a longer lasting effect on what we're trying to do with these younger ages. Tony, really quick, what age was it for you? Like, what age was it for you? Did you play multiple sports? Did you, or were you just baseball all the way? Did you get identified? Did somebody say, hey man, this is what you need to do? Like, how did it happen for you at a young age?
Right. I was brought into a baseball family. My uncle played, my granddad played, my dad played a little bit. I heard my great grandfather played. So, I was born into it. At a young age, I started playing, t-ball, I think 3 years old, 2, 3 years old. So, I was always in the game. And I played soccer and all that, when I was little. But once I finally got to high school, I played basketball, football, and baseball. And, I noticed, on the football team and, with my high school, it was a predominantly, white school. We probably had about 50 blacks total, and they all played football and basketball. That was it. None of them was on the baseball team. There were 3 of us, and I don't know. I feel like because they weren't taught it at a young age, and they were never accustomed to it, and that definitely has an impact. And I think that's that.
That's interesting because that story seems to run rampant with a lot of baseball guys. Carl Crawford with I can't remember the baseball player that dad who took him under his wing in Little League, and McCutcheon has a good story. Like, there's always a great story behind guys. I know Barry Paulk, rest in peace, was a teammate of Rav's and I, but his father happened to be a big guy at the Perrine Hellcats, old man Paulk. And so there's this prevalent, there's this figure, or there's this story that, there's somebody guiding you into baseball. But I also had the opportunity to play high school baseball with Cedric Irvin. Cedric Irvin. I know Cedric played a little bit of Little League, and then this is 10th grade year JV baseball, and the season's already started. We're going, and in walks Ced, and he walks in, and he's, Coach, what's up, man? He comes to me and he says, hey, I need you to get him up to speed with baseball. We want him. We want him. And that was all in. And he came to practice. He was an animal. But it's like Rav said, as he started to get there and catch up, season's over already, man. As he started really to figure out how to do these things, season's over. It's time to go play football. I'm out of here, guys. And that was it. And yes, he made it to the league. Yes, he played with the Detroit Lions. But imagine if he would have been nurtured since 5, just in both sports, in every sport, because he played basketball as well. But imagine if he had been nurtured, put that in a baseball uniform. My goodness, I've seen it. I have a picture of my phone.
And Rich, back in 1997, I don't know if Tino remembers. Tino, remember we had to play in the regional semifinals. We're playing Fort Meade. Do you remember that?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you know who was on that team, right?
Andrew McCutcheon.
McCutcheon was a 7th grader on that team, and he looked like, oh, what, this kid's only in 7th grade, so he was physical and he had the skill set already, So we saw him as a 7th grader. He progressed, and by the time he got drafted, it was like, oh my gosh, this is the same kid. And there's another kid that played with us in the same organization that Tony played with, the Eagle Shield Canes, Jay Allen, who goes to John Carroll High School right now. He's going to be a senior. He's a 2021. He's the quarterback. He's their point guard, and he committed 2 years ago at his sophomore year to University of Florida. And he chose baseball because, man, baseball is the best way to have a longer career. So,
absolutely.
So definitely, man, you could play all sports, but at the end of the day, this game that we love, I think is going to be more beneficial for a long-lasting career. I mean, I'm a little biased when it comes to that, but definitely coaching the coaches and preparing them, the fundamentals, absolutely. But you know, you're at the mercy of who's willing to give their time and those optimists. But if we could teach them, you know, how to run a practice, you know, this is how you do this. You take a time to do defense, time to hit, base run, whatever it is the case is. I think it kind of gives them a little inkling on how to run a practice, and you know, and definitely the skill set can be enhanced. Listen, man, we're all on this in this together, and I think we could do something. But again, you know, my whole thing is obviously the money's going to be a big issue. Who could you know, generate the funds for some of these organizations, and it's an uphill battle, it seems sometimes, but I think we need to crack it and try to overcome this with everything we have as coaches. And I'm speaking from myself, and I'm taking on behalf of all high school coaches, I believe.
That's awesome, Ernie. That's awesome.
I agree. The camp that we had here,
I gotta go.
Fantastic. Tino, you gotta.
I do gotta go,
So
but
you came late. You have to leave early.
Yeah.
Got it.
No, Tino's got another.
I have 5 jokes for that, Rich, but I'm not gonna say it. I had about 5 jokes for
that. Tino's gotta go. He told me he had to leave early because he's got Richie. I think Weeks. He's gonna talk to Weeks right now. But Tino, thank you for coming on. We'll probably have you on another show where you could, you know, talk about your program, what you guys are doing. Definitely, I know you're doing big things over there, and definitely, you know, you got Coach Payne there. You also have Antonio Fonseca, who played with the Marlins as your pitching coach, and you know, you got a great thing going, man. And wish you all the best. And thank you for coming on. A coach on that staff with us. You remember Coach Todd, right, Tony?
Yeah, Coach Todd. Yeah.
Hey, let me tell you, man, African American. Worked with the Marlins a little bit, has not been able to catch on with a college. And that guy knows hitting. Oh, my gosh. I learned so much. I learned so much about hitting with him in one summer ball season than I've learned in all these other clinics. And what a great dude, first and foremost. And secondly, very knowledgeable. And yet he's not coaching at a college. I mean, I'm flabbergasted, bro. You know, and you've dealt with him, and the things he said, I dealt with him. Willie Escala dealt with him, and you guys progressively got better. Because I just let him, Coach, you go, man. Shit, I don't understand none of the stuff you're talking about. Some high level stuff. It was some high level mental stuff, and I go, whoa, I'm learning here too. But anyways, yeah, and Tino hit another point, man. Opportunities, definitely need more opportunities.
Coach
Absolutely.
Payne, Coach Payne. I know we've talked a lot about Iraq's league in Richmond, Perrine area, but you guys are a little bit more north. What do you think we can do as the pool of people that we have here and our extended branch of people that we can get in contact? What can we do a little bit further north? And you know, I like to hear your comments on a lot of the comments that were said, because I think you got some good insight on that.
Well, I think one of the things is we have to find a base, whether it's North Miami. Andre Sori's at North Miami. Tino played with me. I know him. I know his brother, who's the assistant city manager, city at North Miami. Or whether it's Ben Hanks, who runs Gibson Park over town, whose son is a very good little baseball player. But we have to find a base and put our energy into that Optimist or that park and build up one team and then 2 teams and then 3 teams, and then we can spread it out. But we have to, you know, it takes literature. And some of these gentlemen like yourself, like Ernie, you know, we had a thing, I did an inner city thing for some of the inner city high schools a couple of years ago at Florida Memorial. And we had some coaches come out and they brought literature. And when you give those kids a packet that they can actually look back and refer to, like you say, a 1-day clinic, a 2-day clinic, they may not retain everything, but if they have a reference point that they can go back to, it can help. Also, coaches clinics, I'm real big on that. because I understand everybody's not going to go get that knowledge on their own. But if you really give them something, and it may spark something, not just the kids can fall in love with baseball. I've seen grown men that when you talk to them, their son is playing and they want to be able to help their son, and you give them some knowledge, they fall in love with baseball as well, because now they have a thirst for it. They want to learn it so they can get their son better. Because everybody wants to tell the boys at work, yeah, you know my son's going to UM. Everybody wants to be that dad. So they'll take it and run with it, but we have to find a municipality that'll work with us, that'll give money. I mean, I've sat down with Miami Gardens forever. And Miami Gardens always come on every time they get a new director of athletics, they want to start baseball, but they never do. And it gets discouraging. But you got to keep pushing. You got to keep pushing. Another thing was I talked to Ernie about was the RBI, and that's how we got on the Urban Youth Baseball Academy. You know, I was a big guy in RBI for a long time when I was in high school because I needed my kids to get at bats. That was just the bottom line. I'm gonna play RBI because we need to get at bats. We got to put the onus on them too. Hey, y'all the Marlins, we need y'all to do more.
Yes.
We need you to come help fund some of these programs, not just give out T-shirts, not send Billy the Marlin, but we need your guys. We need some of your minor league coaches. You know, I reached out to the Marlins one year. I was sitting home one day during spring training, and I was like, hey, can I go up there and shadow some coaches? They said, for what? So I can learn. Somebody up there got to be able to teach me something.
Right.
You know, Don Manley used to coach me, and Don Manley had a long conversation. It's something you talked about earlier. One of the guys that really sparked baseball for me, and like Tony, I played 3 sports all the way up through high school. I even could have tracked because my father was a track guy, so I could have qualified for state of triple jump. Just me and the track coach, he wouldn't let me do it. But Mickey Rivers was my mother's childhood friend's little brother. So when Mickey Rivers was a center fielder for the Yankees and they were playing for a lot of them, he tell them all the time, bring those boys. And he take me on the field and we play catch. So just being out on the field with those guys and you hear little stuff that they're saying and you're watching them, you pick up stuff. But we have to talk to the Marlins and say, hey, man, what are y'all willing to do? What are you willing to do, Mr. Jeter? What are you willing to do to really help us make this program work? And we don't want T-shirts for uniforms. We want substance. You know, we got to have guys like yourselves that are pushing the issue. You know, Coach Rackley, let me ask you something. Did Dante Alberts play in your part? You muted.
I got him.
What you say?
Yeah, you're good, right?
Yeah. You hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, Dante, I know who Dante is, but he didn't play for me at the time I was there.
Oh.
He didn't play under me or anything like that, but I know exactly who you're talking about.
I love Dante Albert. He was a bulldog. Very good kid.
Yeah,
Very good
man.
player.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Very good
man,
player.
Coach, that's awesome. That is awesome. Coach,
yeah, I met him with RBI, you know.
Oh, okay, really?
Yeah, I coached him a couple of years with the RBI with the All-Star team, and I mean, I always loved that kid. I remember a quick story about what the kids don't understand. Greg Brown, who was at Nova and now is back in Major League Baseball, but when he was a scout, he called me one day, and he was going to Homestead to scout Roy Stewart. You remember him?
Yeah, I remember Roy. Yes, sir.
He asked me, he said, Coach Payne, what do you think of that kid? And I told him, I said, when I first saw him, he was very raw athlete. Now he's bigger, stronger, and he's a little more polished. Right. So he called me and said, hey, Homestead has a shortstop, Dante Albert. You got to get him, Coach. He's loose. I know you got your travel team. He plays loose. The kids, he's out there dancing, doing the stanky leg. I love that kid.
Yes, sir.
I said, well, Brownie, what about Stewart? He said, nah, he's not for me because they hit a ball to the second baseman. He was in the field. He never moved. And the next batter hit a ball to the shortstop, and he never moved. I said, you didn't see him here? He said, nah, I wasn't going to wait. I can tell you he's selfish. But he's the one who told me about Dante. And I started coaching him at RBI, and I always, you know, like ask people that I know that live on that end about him. And we almost had a chance to get him Tino's our first year at Florida Memorial, but I think he ended up not going back to school. But he was very good ball player, very good.
Coach, let me ask you a question. You're from the North End, right?
Yes.
what youth organizations or parks or anything on that end that you know of that's doing baseball? Because I myself, like I said, being from on this end, won't have any down this end. But I did want to try and reach out with some of those parks from up north. And see
you want me to take that question, Jerry?
Yeah.
Other than Pepper Park, I don't really know. I got a friend that does it in Fort Lauderdale, up at Carter Park. I mean, he's at Oswald Park now, but on the north end of Dade County, other than Pepper Park, and their program has kind of fallen off a little bit, and there's a guy, Andre Sawyer, that's trying to breathe life back into it. But other than that, I don't think Liberty City is organized anymore after Mr. Johnson passed. But, you know, it's a shame because you have some sterling athletes.
Absolutely.
In high school, in Ernie, I coached Duke Johnson. He was one of my center fielders. And I had a kid, Rashad Fenton, that just won the Super Bowl with the Chiefs. Both of them played for me. And both of them were outstanding athletes. And I think the pool was so great. You know, I don't know if either one of them would have made it, but they were exceptional players. And I had Duke in the 9th grade. I had Rashad in 9th and 10th grade. And I even had another kid, the best athlete I coached. He ended up going to Chaminade. He was a quarterback with the LSU and a couple of other things. He finished up at University of Arizona. But, I mean, he was, you know, 9th grade playoffs at St. Thomas, and he threw a ball from the track to the plate and almost threw a guy out. Like his name was Gerard. So we got to get those athletes and turn those athletes into baseball players, and then just let that athleticism take over.
I think Cal wanted to answer that. Cal, you got anything else you want to add on that point?
Yeah, Charles, when we get off the phone or whatever, off the interview, if you we could just exchange numbers, because I work over at I work for the city of North Miami also, and I'm over at Pepper Park with Andre Sawyer, who's the head of the baseball program. They've now made it a all year round baseball program. Like Coach Payne said, he's trying to like breathe life back into that program over there. He was Andre played over there in North Miami for Coach Littman. He was like all state, all county, went on to BCC and Florida Memorial. So he's very knowledgeable about the game. And like I mean, him along with myself and a few other guys, and Coach Payne does a great job with sending some of his college kids out there to help with the program. And myself, I have some of my high school kids that help out with the program. So you have guys there that are knowledgeable and that know the game. So Coach Rackley, you know, when this is all over, I'll be glad to, you know, exchange numbers with you, and we could move forward with that.
We'll do.
Okay.
We'll do.
And to touch on what Ernie and Rich was saying with the clinics, like I have a good friend that I play at Trinity University with, Dax Gallegos. He's over at Westminster. That's my guy. Him and Emil, we all played at Trinity together. So Dax was like, hey, man, whenever you want to have a clinic, I'll be glad to come up north and stuff like that. So we've touched on it, you know, but unfortunately, let's do it. So, you know,
and Westminster literally right down the street from us. I mean, I'm talking about less than 3 miles away from me, man. Their school's less than 3 miles.
They got a young man there, Jamar Fairweather.
Yeah. And then North Miami had a right-handed pitcher, man, back in the day, and I'm drawing a blank on his name.
Griffin.
There you go. Griffin. And he was special.
They had Ray Reed too. Rayon Reed.
Yeah, Rayon Reed too. That was a tough 1-2 punch.
Yeah. Yes, sir. And with Charlie. With Charlie Cruz as well.
I think one of the biggest talking points, gentlemen, is that we seem to have lots of resources. We seem to have a lot of contacts, and we seem to have a lot of people with good intentions, but we need to organize. You know, we need to have these meetings outside of Zoom, and I mean, with Zoom, we can have them. It's such an easy way for us to get together and really plan things, because we have the things that we need. And eventually, I believe that when people see us doing something positive, they will start to bring the dollars. They will start to bring the sponsorship. But if we don't move, you know, it's, you know, Rack and I talked about running a clinic at his league 2 years ago, probably. And it's still sitting there up in the air. You know what I mean?
Still ain't gotten it done yet. You're right. Yeah, absolutely.
I think that the biggest thing that's come out of this, and I appreciate your guys' time and your insight, is that we really need to come together and and get together and meet and talk and discuss it. I mean, whether it's in person or not, that way we can plan. And it doesn't take too much, you know. It's not a big Herculean effort, man. The camps that I've run have been run on like a text message. Hey, we want to do a camp at Harris Field. Are you guys down? Yes, we'd love it. When? Next week. Okay, we'll be there. I had 60 kids out there, you know. So we were supposed to do a coaches clinic after, and then the virus hit. So, I mean, it's very simple to put in play. And I think we do have the time because it's important. You know what I mean? It's important. The time has to be made. The time has to be made, man. You know, like same thing. I had no business going out to check out the Richmond Giants and hang out with you. But you know what? I think I hung out for a doubleheader and a half. As many games are there because it's important. And you can't just drop in and drop out. Like we got to have some sort of stability in what we're trying to do, you know, and that I think that's going to go a longer way for us, right. You know, and making that kind of impact. And I think we got the guys to do it, man. I mean, we got a UM center fielder on here that I'm sure he wouldn't mind coming out and putting a cap on and the kids would love to see him. And that to me is important. I think that to me is fundamental as far as the high school guys, man. I said it earlier, but 4, 5, 6-year-old guys, they see a high school guy in his uniform, then it leaves an impression. It leaves an impression. Nobody's looking them up at 5 years old to see what they're hitting or anything like that. Absolutely. That is an age that still there's an opportunity for them to fall in love with it at the youth age. And like Coach said earlier, the adults start to fall in love with it with your kid. You know, how many things that have our kids done that we weren't really into, and now we find ourselves going to such and such activity because our kids are into it, you know, and that's how somehow draws the adults into it as well.
I told that to my guys at Central. My second year, I took my guys to a pre-K, like a daycare pre-K school to read to the kids. And I was like, listen, this is a part of the community outreach. If we get these little kids, you know, these little kids see you and they be like, because like one of my best players was a kid named Dietrich Dansby. And I was like, nah, this kid's going to go home because you read to this kid and you seem big and imposing. He's going to say, Mom, I want to go see Dietrich play. So now we have a whole crowd of kids, little kids and middle school kids want to see Dietrich play. You know what I'm saying? So that's important. And, you know, as far as like the community outreach and stuff like that. So these guys will get a chance to see the kid from UM, Tony Jenkins. If they see the Tony Jenkins come out and, you know, he looks just like them, they're going to be like, oh, wow, like, I didn't know. You get what I'm saying? That's the thing. Like, I hate it. I won't say hate because that's a bad word, but, like, up on this end, man, it's so football dominated. Like, it's out of control. Like, coming into coaching high school, I didn't know it was that. Like, I was at Miami Central, a state power, perennial, state ranked, nationally ranked team, and like the problem that I had there was like they literally took the kids off the baseball field. Literally, like, yo, get off the field. Like, you're not playing baseball. So I couldn't understand that, and I still don't understand that. And it was like it was coming from up top. And what can you do? I mean, I was at practice cranking out, doing outfield, and the football team jogged out like an African tribe, and you could hear them running and grunting, and the ground was shaking, and they just started practicing in right field. So I was like, you know, what's going on? You know, so I mean, it's tough, man. It's tough, man. Miami's so football dominated, man. It's just it's tough. Like you said, we have to stay the course and stay together, man. But it's really, really tough. Like, it's tough on this end. These black kids, so many kids, and that over at Central, like it got a buzz with baseball where kids was just coming because I seemed like I was cool or whatever the case be. And they're like, hey, coach, I'm coming to play baseball. And I'm like, have you ever played? He's like, no, but I can run fast. I said, okay, well, I'll teach you to bunt, and then we can teach you how to steal some bases. Just that. But then, you know, honestly, I mean, but then when the season roll around, you look at that same kid, and he looking like, I can't come, coach. They won't let me play. And I had talked to the parents, and they just, I mean, everybody just so football headstrong. Like, it's just, it's tough, man. It's tough. Like, I mean, at Central, I wouldn't trade in that experience for nothing because I played at Central, man. It was it was an honor. It was a privilege to go back there. I brought Ronnie back there, Belliard, and he was excited. And it just, you had our first senior day for the first group of guys that came through that, and it just is hard, man. I mean, it was really hard, and it became disheartening almost to the point where my third season I almost quit because I was like, you know what? But then I thought about, like, can't do these kids like that, and we went on to have, like, you know, a decent season, and people, you know, in that district with Westland and Ronald Reagan and who's over the Matter. Those coaches over there, like, I earned their respect, and, you know, I earned their praise, and they're just like, oh, like, you know, you did it the right way, like you really worked with those kids. I mean, but, you know, I don't know, like in the Black community, man, it's just, baseball is not one of the, you know, popular sports. And I mean, like I said, we all us on the phone, all the Black guys here, we play baseball and we love baseball, though we might have played other sports as well, but, like, baseball was cool. I mean, it still is cool to me, so I don't know. Yeah. But I'm willing, man.
It's
Cal, tough, man.
And Cal, you played for a tough coach who loved you guys and taught you this, you know? And I'm sure he had a huge impact on the player you became in high school as well.
Absolutely.
You know,
I had Jose Novas and
Ochoa.
Carlos Ochoa. Yeah.
Two great baseball guys that went to Central and coached there. You know, and definitely, you know, everybody's got to step up here. You know, and like I said, man, I'm willing, and I know Rich is willing, and I know if I get a couple other coaches and say, hey, let's go here, let's go over there, and I wish the FHSAA would let us, or even GMAC, let us have, like, you know, dual practices where both teams could, like I said before, could benefit from that. And I think that's how you learn, man. Iron sharpens iron, and definitely they see, oh, that's how you do it. And you know, and I always hear the excuse, and I told Payne about this, oh, baseball is expensive. Yeah, Dominican Republic does it, and they there's no money over there either, you know? So, you know, they just have that love. We just got to instill that love and that passion for the game that was there, because it was there back. I know when I first started, like I said, in the 90s, there was a lot of inner city baseball that was really, really good and very competitive. And guys getting to the big leagues, and guys getting drafted, and guys going to Division I colleges. So it has been done. We just need to do a better job. Now it's our responsibility. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So
when I played at Central, like you guys were saying earlier, when I played over at Central, we practiced at Miami-Dade North. So we got the chance to see big league after big league. The Lenny Harrises, the Warren Crow Martys. Like, any given day, you'll end up taking batting practice or hitting with those guys. We was like low-level Miami Central in the city school, but, I mean, we did have the two guys who had the Ronnie Belliard, who got drafted in the King West as a pitcher, got drafted. But like Ernie touched on early, any given day of practice, we'll end up practicing with a big leaguer. And they came out, they hit with us, and they talked with us. Like, so it was dope. And that's what I did at Central, man. I brought back the George Barbers that played at Central and got drafted, and he played with our Coach Payne. I brought him out. He opening and willing, like, just teaching my kids how to a big league approach to hitting. You know what I'm saying? And I brought back the Ronnie Belliards and all those players because they wanted to see that. They liked that stuff.
Yeah. Well, guys, we've had you guys on here for an hour and a half. Wow. You know, the time has flown by, man. I love this topic. Like Rich and I said, man, we have a passion for this, and we're here to help. So thank you for coming on. You guys have a great night, and whatever we could do, man, let's do it. And nip this at the bud, man, and try to improve baseball in the inner city and baseball as a whole in general, you know?
Hey, Ernie.
Yes.
Listen, let me chime in real quick before we go. Listen, Rich, I don't know which one of you guys got all the contacts for everybody, but Rich or Ernie, whichever one's got the contacts, if you guys could, man, and I don't know if you guys have a problem with it, but if you could create like a little chat, maybe something with everybody in it, and just send it out a little message so we can all keep in contact with each other.
All right.
That way we have our own little group. And like you said, Rich, you know what I mean? We got to start somewhere. I think this is a start from today. I think, you know, next time it ain't got to be Zoom. Maybe we could meet somewhere over a couple beers or something. And then we could continue this on, man. And hopefully we can get to something that where we can find a resolution to how we can get this, you know, get this thing rolling.
Rack, this is like the Wizard of Oz, Rack. We're gonna say bye to you guys. I'm gonna let some production secrets out. We're gonna say bye to everyone, and I'm just gonna hit pause, so we'll all still be in the room together, and then we could talk for like a minute or two offline. So
all right, that's cool.
We're gonna end the show, but don't go anywhere. All right. We appreciate you, gentlemen. Tony.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you.
We want to see you drafted higher than Freddy, man. We want to see you get drafted
higher.
Tony,
good luck, kid. Good luck on your season, young fella. Hope that all goes well, man.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it. Yes, sir.
Hey, Tony. Just don't forget where you take BP. Don't forget. When that contract comes, I'm just saying. And I got witnesses.
Nah, but like if you guys ever need me for a camp, to be at a camp or anything, feel free to shoot me a text or anything, and I'll bring out a couple guys with me, and you know we'll go at it. So I just want to say thank you.
Let's do it. I think that'll be great.
I want to hold you to that one, Tony. I definitely want to hold you to that. I think that'd be awesome.
Most definitely, yes, sir.
Thank you, Tony. Tony, thank you for being on, buddy.
Yes, sir. Thanks, Coach.
Ernie, my brother, another good show, man. I feel the same way that I felt when we did the college coaches. I feel that we were just at the tip of the iceberg, but I think we started a great dialogue, and it's important that we continue it offline and we help these guys grow the game in these areas.
I mean, one of the most important things that came out of this is that, you know, we're gonna start a group chat with everybody on there and kind of like, you know, help each other out, you know, because at the end of the day, and I'll say it again, man, iron sharpens iron. And us as coaches, man, we could always learn from everybody. The moment that we stop learning is the moment that we stop, you know, living as a human being, man. Every day we can learn something and just be better. So honestly, it's a topic that's been on my heart, like I told you from the get-go, because that was the first show idea. I told you, hey, we need to do something on River City baseball.
Yep.
Because I think it needs to be addressed. It needs to be a situation where we can improve it from the inside. And as high school coaches, and get as many of us to do this. And I think it can be done. So, Rich, great show, man. Next week.
Now you're in a war pole. You're in a war pole, Ernie. I'm gonna jump in because you're in a war. Everything you said was fantastic until you said, Rich, great show. You got Darth Vader on me. So next week we got something cool. We're gonna try to stay relevant with topics that are important and also have some fun as well. I'm looking to have some high school baseball coaches on here and we'll see you guys next week. And if you guys are interested in getting involved in this initiative that we're trying to set forth, just drop us a line, man. The information, you guys can reach Anthony at HSBN and he'll get the information to us, or you can hit Ernie or myself. In the box of the YouTube link will be our contact info. So if you guys out there want to get involved and have some interest, please drop us a line, and we'll see you guys next week.